Climate change is often associated with extreme weather and life-threatening droughts. But changes like an early spring, more acidic water, less sea ice and migration of species to new areas can also cause serious consequences. If global warming increases by more than 2 degrees, it can lead to the extinction of many plant and animal species. Ecosystems have always changed, but now the environment and climate is so profoundly affected by humans that plants and animals find it difficult to adapt. And the pace of the changes is greatest in the Arctic ecosystems. All the components of an ecosystem are connected and mutually affected by each other. Access to sunlight, water, carbon dioxide and temperature are decisive for the development of plants and animals. Greater average temperatures in the atmosphere leads to a rise in ocean temperatures, which again has consequences for marine ecosystems.
Det som først og fremst skjer at vi endrer produktiviteten i havområdene, og med produktiviteten så mener vi da primærproduksjonen, planteproduksjonen, det som tilsvarer produksjonen av gress og trær og busker på land. I havet så foregår den planteproduksjonen i form av mikroskopiske små alger i sjøen. Og den primærproduksjonen på samme måte som på land grunnlaget for alt annet liv. I våre områder så viser det seg at primærproduksjonen øker med økende temperatur. Og det medfører da at vi får også en høyere produksjon av dyreplankton og av fisk. I tillegg så gjør klimaendringene at vi får forflytning av grenser for de ulike artene.
We find one example of this in Kongsfjorden in Svalbard. Here, researchers have followed the effects of climate change closely and in real time. For the past 35 years, the temperature of the Atlantic current has increased and has now reached a level which has made Kongsfjorden free of ice for several of the past winters. Arctic animal plankton species and polar cod, which both thrive in colder water, moved out of the fjord and further north. Atlantic animal plankton and large amounts of krill have entered the fjord to feed on small plankton species. Krill in turn provides sustenance for increased stocks of Atlantic cod, haddock, herring and caplin. The warming of Kongsfjorden tells researchers a lot about how northern oceans will react to increases in the water temperature in the future.
For våre områder betyr det faktisk at vi får mer fisk, men da bør jeg si det slik at innen visse grenser for klimaendring. For hvis vi fortsetter å utslippe i den takten som vi har gjort det nå, så vil endringene i Arktis kunne bli så store at vi ikke har noen sjans til å kunne forutsi hva som egentlig skjer i det hele tatt.
The IPCC has established that the average temperature in the oceans has increased the past 3 decades. And even if we stop all CO2 emissions today, the temperature will continue to rise for centuries. Increased CO2 emissions in the atmosphere have led to more acidic oceans all over the world, and this affects many organisms in marine ecosystems.
Dette en av de tingene som vi vet forholdsvis lite om, og som det altså pågår en stor forskning over hele verden. Jeg vil si det slik at vi har ikke 2 streker under det svaret før minst om 20 år. Det litt for sent om 20 år å begynne å redusere CO2-utslippene. Vi kan ikke vente til vi har 2 streker under det svaret, rett og slett.
Global warming doesn't just affect life in the ocean. For the past 3 decades, the summer sea ice in the Arctic has been shrinking. Several climate models indicate that the summer ice may be reduced by more than 50% by the end of this century. This changes the very basis for the existence of Arctic animal species that depend on ice.
The Arctic is being impacted more heavily than any other biome on the planet, and we've seen drastic changes in the Arctic in just the last couple of decades. I work a lot with ice-associated species, and there we see vast change already having taken place. It affects a lot of different species in many different ways. Ring seals use ice for virtually every aspect of their life. They feed in association with it. They breed under it, and their whole social system depends on ice and ice holes. They're born on it. They're born in little snow caves on the ice. So almost everything that ring seals do is associated with ice. Well, there's bang-on effects all through the system. Polar bears around the globe are being impacted by the changes in ice via the changes in seals. Seals are their primary prey. And when seals aren't reproducing, there's less and less food for polar bears. So when people say, what are they going to do now? The basic question is, we don't know yet, because we've never seen such a thing. Arctic ice has been there for about 5 million years.
Polar ecosystems on land are also affected by climate change.
The summer temperatures and the winter temperatures both play a part in determining plant growth and the conditions for plant survival. In a warmer atmosphere, the atmosphere can hold more precipitation, and this could fall as rain or as snow, depending on the temperature. So this experiment is to look at the changes in the amount of snow that fall on the tundra and how that affects the plants.
Warmer winters mean more snow in the Arctic. Elizabeth and her colleagues have put up a number of snow fences on the tundra. These fences serve as windbreaks and make the snow gather behind them, so it will take longer for the snow to melt there in spring.
By delaying the snow melt, by using these snow fences, we have seen a delay in the start of growing season, and it means that the plants have a shorter time to do everything they need to do in this very short summer. Produce leaves, produce flowers, produce seeds. And for some species, they don't manage to produce germinable seeds by having a shorter season.
A shorter growing season can have consequences further up the food chain.
The plants are eaten by herbivores, which rely on the plants for food. What we see happening with the plants here is likely to have effects throughout the food chain.
In winter, the tundra is covered with snow. Plants' photosynthesis stops. They will therefore just emit CO2, not absorb it. More snow in winter may therefore lead to the vegetation emitting more CO2 into the atmosphere than it absorbs.
How the plants respond to changes in summer and winter temperature are very important as to whether the tundra remains as a carbon sink or whether it becomes a source. And this can affect the amount of carbon going into the atmosphere. And this is very important because the tundra areas occupy a large proportion of the Arctic.
Climate change will lead to changing conditions for fisheries, agriculture and human settlements. But exactly what impact it will have on people is hard to predict. The question is, are we willing to take that risk?
We don't know what the impacts are going to be, but we do know that the winters are projected to be warmer and wetter.
Business as usual isn't an option for me. It would result in major declines of Arctic endemics and some species losses.
Hvis vi fortsetter å slippe ut klimagasser til atmosfæren i den takten vi har gjort det nå, så vil det få konsekvenser mot slutten av dette århundret som vi ikke har noen mulighet til å kunne forutsi. Derfor er det viktig at vi handler nå.